Hi guys, this is Core, and I'm also known as Drew, and I want to go over as to why I've been super accepting of the dating market as of lately. And before I get to that, I want to get into a little recap over here. So, middle to high school, I realized that my family sucks. They don't really respect my boundaries, insecurities, emotions, etc. So I thought to myself, hey, you know what? Why don't I be there for someone back when I was a kid, and they'll be there for me. That way, I replace my emotionally immature family. Mm, I just woke up. So, although good plan, and I'm still following that plan as an adult in his mid 20s. I in back when I was in middle and high school, I would get rejected a lot. Nowadays, I still do. And in middle and high school, statistically speaking, most children are gonna never have any relationship experience. And that's okay. That's okay. And for a long time, I was depressed because what the heck? I mean, I see people in relationships. This was back when I was a kid in high school. I would think to myself, "Wow, I'm such a failure. Look at everybody else who's in a relationship." But then I didn't realize at the time that, which I've learned much later on, that well, most kids never get any relationship experience anyways. And I also had low self-esteem and all that. But yeah, anyways, I would get rejected a lot, and usually it's my invisible disorders and how my family, especially my dad, he never really taught me how to treat girls my age correctly. My dad, he was always just not so, he was present, but also not. If that makes sense. So that was a rough time. But fast forward to my coffee. The early 2020s. I This was in 2020 when I graduated high school. I went straight to community college at 18, and I it was around when COVID was ripe. And after COVID, it it's somewhere around 2023 when everything started to soften up. I did try to ask women out, but sadly, because at the time my social skills were underdeveloped, my invisible disorders were undertreated, because in my childhood my dad would always buy food mainly made out of carbs and protein. And lately I've been making a lot of fixes. I've been filtering water, I've been taking supplements, putting a strong emphasis on what my mild autism and ADHD require. And I don't drink energy drinks, nor do I consume ultra processed foods as much as I used to. I used to eat instant ramen so much when I was a child. Now I don't anymore. I don't even eat instant ramen anymore. And hot Cheetos and Takis. I don't drink soda anymore. I don't drink energy drinks anymore. I went back to old reliable 2 cups of coffee a day. So, early 2020s, I asked out women. Half of the time it was my fault because my social skills weren't up to par. I wasn't really getting the right type of vibes. I wasn't giving off the right type of vibes because of my social skills and awkwardness. And I was just sad, all right, because no one wants me. My most of the blame was put on my family for not really being there during my developmental years or supervising me right. So fast forward to 2024, first person to earn and attend a commencement ceremony for an associate's in my family. Hell yeah. But my family doesn't care. And I got into a nasty argument about, say, what? My family making fun of something that's deeply personal and that they shouldn't really, say, poke fun at. And I just started, I don't usually do this, but I started yelling. I started just being so aggravated. And then my whole family, they walked back inside as I was yelling at them. I wasn't close up to their faces, but they stressed me out badly. And back when I started my first job in a big retail company, my ADHD symptoms became more present. They became standoutish because, oh, first time making money, I got big responsibilities, new new conditions in order not to get let go or whatever. Very first time for me. So when in 2024, when I experienced a great amount of stress when my family unapologetically made fun of a very unfortunate time, I my stress got worse. I think I may have developed an obsession with the little things, such as, oh, did I type something right? Did I read that right? And then I would keep past that event, summer of 2024. I would be more impulsive. I would also not think straight. I would just basically not act well, as in say, oh, my brain would be all ditzy, if that makes sense. I would also just, what else? Just not, just basically I wouldn't be as productive as I used to be. I would procrastinate a lot, and I would think that I would be too good to cook. So basically, my ADHD symptoms got worse. Fast forward to March of 2025. I met a girl who I thought was the one, but I was wrong. And she ended up hurting me in the middle of 2025. And I look to contextualize everything. I I was depressed, not clinically depressed, but I was just really sad. I was just I was very needy. I was anxious. I was sad. I was hurt, especially from my family and from my past. And I was just so again. I think I said this already. I was desperate. I wanted somebody who would be there for me and who would just and somebody to talk and listen to. And because I didn't have enough self esteem and confidence in myself, I was even willing to accept this girl who had a plethora of red flags. She let's start with a big and obvious one. She hated men. Okay, she was a problem Sanders. And I was such a bird brain thinking that I would be the exception, but no, I was only the quote unquote exception for a little while. And not only that, she always was negative about her exes, and she just it I was just destined to be yet another case study, okay? That that, hey, you know what, that I was going to reinforce her backwards belief on men. Because whenever I would be in, say, not the talking stage, but more so, say, the introduction stage with a gal, she's gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna make mistakes. At that point, problems will come and go and will get solved. But from what I've learned from my family and how much of a failure they are when it comes to, say, being emotionally mature, I, well, I've learned that at one point you get tired of, say, the disrespect. You get less angry at the problem itself and more so on how they handle it. And I thought, look, again, I was just really needy. She gave me attention. She allowed me to compliment her, and I was really lucky when I did this. But she expressed interest while with physical touch, and she just basically led me on, only to tell me that she wasn't interested in a relationship, and that finding that out later on after she blocked me, it really did hurt. And it it hurt because she was fresh out of a breakup from her ex, and her ex was stalking my stories out of sadness. And when I pointed that out, she thought it was funny how stupid boys can be. I think she refers to men sometimes as boys as a way to belittle us, because again, she's a problem Sandress. Anyways, somebody told me that was a red flag, but I was just so desperate that I was willing, me, bronze tier, was willing to accept a low quality woman when in reality there's plenty of gals who want to talk to me, who want to get to know me, who are just in a rut as I am. So basically, okay, anyways, she had an immature reaction to a personal insecurity that I have, and she also rubbed it in my face that she wasn't interested in a romantic relationship with me, and that hurt. How she did it was that, oh, I was walking her to her car, and this was after what it was confirmed that we were never gonna date, but she but I still went and hung out with her as a friend anyways because I wanted a platonic relationship as friends, but she was on edge on that because she would randomly include physical touch, but then also say, "You're a good friend." Oh my god. So yeah, um, I'm trying to focus right now. So after it was confirmed that, hey, I'm never gonna date her, might as well be extra nice to her as if she's my girlfriend. She was I walked her to her car, okay, this one time, and her mother's partner caught a glimpse of me, and her family later found out that, oh, they found out about me, and then they were teasing her, this girl that I was interested in, but who I knew that I could never date her because she wouldn't allow that, which is fine. She opened up to me about her family knowing. They would say, "Oh, when are you gonna marry him? When are you gonna marry him?" And then she was quoting them while we were in front of the library, and then she said, "I don't know why they're hyping me up with some I'm not romantically interested in. it was just super disrespectful, but I kept my composure because it was just, well, it was messed up. Usually, when someone's mean to me, my shell, me, metals up, as in I turn into a stone wall when somebody's being mean to me. I either respond cleverly, as if I try to respond cleverly and maturely, or I just say nothing at all. I learned that from my ill-mannered family, and well, hmm, I kind of I, I just let her mouth off, and I do feel embarrassed crying for somebody who had so many red flags, and she was really pretty. She was, well, cute, and she was fun to talk to get to know her interests and such, but behind all that, she didn't really have much to offer. And she also seemingly has poor educational and job prospects. I mean, what do you think an employer is going to say or think of when they see that you're going for associates in gender studies? And she was also a radical feminist, not a traditional, a radical feminist. I'm into women being equal to men in society. I'm just not into radical feminism, which pushes down men to make women go higher and such. But anyways, so I was just my mental health sucked beginning 2024, and then my mental health kind of got better when I started talking to this proud misandrist because I was really lonely and I needed somebody to just be there for me. And then, well, I broke down. I sent her voice messages about how, say, I'll miss her if she will go to another college, community college, to take her classes, and that my social life sucks, and that I'm a very lonely person. I was sobbing for 5 minutes while talking in two voice messages, and what she did was that she listened to the messages. Understandably, she was a little bit weirded out, and then she told me that she enjoys she enjoyed my time with me. She enjoyed it that I bought her vitamin water, that I bought her gifts on her birthday, on her birth month. I That I bought her flowers on her birthday. She appreciated all that, all the kind and wonderful things that I did. That I would let her hug me randomly, that I would listen to her, all that, but she told me that she didn't want to be friends with me anymore because well, she just didn't want to be friends with someone who deep down had a crush on her. And we both left on good terms, and she knew my mental health was declining, but she also dealt with a lot of stress from family, and she didn't want to deal with all that, all those issues from my childhood. And we both parted ways. She understood that my mental health sucked very badly, even though I did open up to her about how, say, oh, my family is terrible, this and that. And she even recommended me to take therapy before the voice messages. And we both parted ways. And all of that was a goddamn lie. She did not do all of that. About after she listened to my voice messages, see, she said something along the lines of, Hey, I don't really feel comfortable about you oversharing and you're texting me too much and all that shoot. And then, oh my god, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't ever approach me in the college campus ever again. Too high enough standards for Subasandris to have basic feelings for a guy who is really going through it. No one gives a damn about men. No one gives a damn. We're just disposable. That's the thing. And so she said basically, moving forward, don't talk to me again. Yada yada yada. Thanks. Best of luck. I got blocked. And that hurt me so badly. I decided to take a 2.5 long break from Instagram. And that hurt me because I trusted her. I told her, I revealed to her my deepest, most vulnerable self. She opened up to me about her problems, about her issues, about how, say, she was scared of one of her exes, and how her uncle was a POS who didn't really care about the plants in her backyard. And basically, I spoiled her and I let her. I think she was. I think she was interested in my arms because I was and I still am muscular. I let her touch my arms and she didn't even ask. I mean, I didn't care because I felt lucky at the time and that I didn't mind it. I felt lucky, but she didn't even ask. I could have. That's a double standard with men and women is that women can get away, generally speaking, with just randomly touching your arms in an intimate manner, friendly or intimate manner. That's how she acted. She got away with that. But if I was a guy who randomly touched her arms or the equivalent of arms, maybe her legs, if I randomly touched her legs, I would have been reported to the police. I would have fudge. I would have got kicked out of campus. My reputation would be in shambles. I would have been on a sex offender registry because that's technically sexual assault. And she got away with it because, well, I'm a man, she's a woman. Well, she was and is part of the LGBT plus community, so she didn't open up to me that she's pansexual. All I know is that I think pansexual means you're interested in all kinds of genders no matter what. She didn't really tell me about her pronouns. I'm kind of new to the pronouns and LGBTQ plus thing. So keep in mind, in when I got serious about, say, asking out women around my age in the beginning of 2025, and well, I also got rejected a lot, and it was usually because, oh, the vibes didn't match about half the time, but the other somewhat of a quarter, I'd say, of the percentage, I would say about half of the time, actually about half of the time, is for reasonable reasons. Maybe I made a misstep in my communication and such. I also, gosh, maybe they just don't see the vibe with me. They don't vibe with me that well. That's okay. But about half of the time, the other about half of the time, they weren't interested in me because I was just maybe I'm not tall enough because I am 5'6". I'm technically short. I'm below average, which is 5'9" in America, I think. And also, I'm not rich. I'm not super or multi talent. I am somewhat multi talented, but I'm not hyper talented compared to just what all the fictional guys women are into nowadays. And I'm not a superhuman, okay? I'm not a super soldier who can do all that. All I know is just what? Intermediate Japanese. I know a few martial arts styles. I can be thoughtful, romantic, and have great gestures, as I've displayed with the Promise Andress, because I've done a lot of things for her that made her heart melt, that made her feel good about herself, and basically made her day better. And yeah, I have done missteps with her, as in, say, accidentally called her, I thought it was a comment because I heard it somewhere. I didn't do I didn't do my due diligence and search up the meaning of the word, but I thought it would be a compliment to call her a vixen, but it's describing somebody who's sexy and flirtatious. I basically in my head I wanted to call her a cute flamingo, but I should have looked up the word. And I told her about it. I told her I didn't know what the word meant. And also, I did say some somewhat creepy things by accident because she is into this video game. She never played it. I saw in one of the posts that she liked on Instagram, she was interested in this video game, this dating sim, and that's the thing I missed is that when it comes to see, things are different when a girl is romantically interested in you. But if a girl is not, and you pull a nice gesture or say something nice or a little bit too nice, you'll get all the risk but no reward. They're gonna see you differently and say to themselves, "Okay, that's weird." And it was just something that one of the protagonists did in the dating sim. It wasn't anything. It was more. It was something more wholesome rather than say anything sexual. But still, I wish I didn't say that because in my head I wanted to be romantic and kind, but I didn't realize how weird that was looking back. But yeah, I mean, I've made mistakes, but for the most part, I've done and said things that are nice, and she has also made mistakes as well. It's weird to touch somebody without their consent. She only got away with it because I'm a guy, and also I allowed it. And she also disrespected me. She would always deal with, say, situations she wasn't so fond of with be it by being passive aggressive or passive aggressive. And basically, I thought she was the catch, but then looking back, because of how much BS I allowed, how I accepted her deep flaws, how I how I accomplished a lot, you see. I As I said earlier, I know how to shoot a gun. I know several martial arts styles. I'm well on my way to being trilingual in Japanese, Spanish, English. I'm I also have proven to be romantic and thoughtful. I can be funny, and I am great with money. That was a little bit questionable in 2025, but I'm definitely much better with money because I can meal prep now. See? My overnight oats. And I don't drink energy drinks anymore. I drink coffee. And and I'm a much better person than who I was 12 months ago. And yeah, I was just looking back. I'm still embarrassed about say accepting a low quality woman because I was so depressed and needy. And that's the thing is that women, they usually are within an information bubble because they hype each other up on Instagram and in person by saying, "Oh my god, you're such a 10 out of 10 bestie," or say, "Oh, you're you're beautiful no matter what. You don't have to settle for anything. Men are trash, this and that." And when you're always hearing all this info, whether it's true or not, it kind of gets into you. And whether it's a truth or a lie, sometimes when you hear something a lot or too often, you kind of start to believe it because you hear it so much, unless you have an anti BS detector in that brain of yours. Back, I just want to roll back onto say me texting her too much. So, for context, I described to her about how I feel bad if I were to text her often. Something about what? I don't want to text her too much. And because she was taking summer classes, and I said that before her summer classes start. I'm talking about the province entries, anyways. And she just, for 5 weeks, which was how long her two classes lasted, she didn't open her mouth about, say, me texting her too much. And I assumed that because she was friendly and nice to me around that time, that I have two monitors, as you can tell, that I was okay and I was texting her just fine. But then it wasn't until after her classes ended was when she told me that, "Oh, you were texting me too much, this and that, yada yada." And I was thinking to myself, what the fudge? You didn't even give me a hint that I was texting you too much because you were being too damn kind. I've allowed you to be mean to me. You think that I'm going to be one of those men in your cherry pick examples and anecdotes from social media that I'm gonna beat you just because my fifis are hurt? No. You were rude to me and I didn't do jack. My gosh. So around June or July, I started to vastly improve my mental health. God, she took too much of my segment here. And I did a lot of things. I went further into supplementation. I started filtering my water. I started largely avoiding ultra processed foods. I started reading the news on a daily. I started meditating, reading mantras, going back to therapy. Because my last therapist, she told me that she was leaving her center, her counseling center. So I had to stop doing therapy because I wasn't gonna be able to talk to her anymore. But now I went back to therapy, then I started meditating, and then I did a plethora of things, basically. And very recently, I also decluttered my room. So as you can see, there's barely anything in my room right now. And part of the reason is that when I do move out somewhere around next year or in 2 years, when I got a good job, I want to make the process much smoother. So I've done so much. I put in a lot of work to improve my mental health. Not just for, say, when I run into a potential lead, and if she's a low quality woman or not, I will address the situation accordingly so that I don't get hurt again. or I don't get as hurt again. And I've healed a lot basically. And I'm so happy that I do not blame myself as much as I used to, because it doesn't matter how well meaning you are, how respectful you are, and you can do a lot of things right. But if a woman is just off her rockers and maybe she's just, I don't know, being hormonal, or maybe she has an attitude problem, maybe she has daddy issues and hates men, it doesn't matter how much right you can do. A woman can put you down and hurt you even though you do a lot of things right, or just deny you of, say, a potential date, because it's entirely based on how they feel about you. It's a two-way street. I'm so happy that lately I stopped blaming myself all the time, and that it's not always my fault. And somebody told me that it's not always my fault, and I'm super happy I met them, because they really opened up my eyes when I had low self-esteem, and I would always bend. I would always not have a spine. I mean, I would kind of have a spine, but you get my point. I would just always bend backwards for, say, making compromises and such. But now I don't make as many compromises as I used to. I've been more firm, and in order to, I've improved my mental health, not just to what, make better choices in the dating market to avoid low quality women, know when to back out, distance myself. But I've also done it for myself, mostly for myself, because I deserve to treat myself. I am worthy of love and all that sort. So, present day. What is there to talk about? Come on, get down, get down. Why aren't you getting down? He doesn't want to go down. I think I went down enough. Anyways, present day. Well, what is there to talk about present day? God, that was a long recap. Um, me accepting the dating market for how it is. Well, I have come to terms that both women and men interpret reality differently. Women have this Women tend to have this illusion of abundance, where, say, no matter what, guys are going to keep throwing themselves to her. So I'll just put down the guy who's doing his best and move on to this guy who I'm interested in, this astronaut ex football player CEO who wouldn't want to date me. But in my head, I'm thinking about all those fictional pieces of media where, say, the the super jacked, rich playboy who's tall and evil to other men, but nice to me, I will be his exception, and that I will get him. He's totally not going to go for the supermodel or A-list actress or someone within his company. But uh I've noticed that, yeah, delusion, women do live in a, they can get themselves in an information bubble from their social life. That's the tricky thing about, say, women who do tend to get social support more compared to guys, is that they they have a harder time determining what is truth and what is not. Let me just take a bite from my overnight oats. That was a big ass chomp. So, anyways, so that's the perk about, say, as a man, no one really cares about me unless I provide something. Whereas women do tend to get unconditional love no matter what. Is that we're told the truth. Hey, you're a fat ass, or say, oh, your life is a mess. Get this together. We're told the ugly truth no matter what because no one cares about us. No one cares about us. And I'm happy I got to learn this info in my early 20s, Jesus, and not further down the line. And I've come to realize that, again, as I said, women and men, they live in two different realities. And a man's is much harsher in some ways compared to how it is easy for women, and it's harsh for women. I'm not saying it's easier for women in general when it comes to, say, life. In some ways, life is hard for men, and in others, life is hard for women. For women, it's safety. For men, it's success. And success in, say, work, because even though women have as many job opportunities as guys, and it's more socially acceptable for there to be dual income households, us men were still expected to be the breadwinner and to always be tough no matter what. And it's just not fair. We're not walls of stone. We're human beings, and also back onto the dating market. I've realized that, again, men and women, we live in two different worlds, and in the dating market, it's always going to be easy for a woman because there's always in her 20s a bunch of dudes who will throw themselves at her to get a lick of attention from her and to see if they can get a chance. But when, gosh, when when she's in her 30s and 40s, that illusion of endless abundance drops. And then all of a sudden, if she isn't if nobody took her in and she was being super picky because of all the garbage advice she gets from Instagram Reels or TikTok, then all of a sudden she's gonna feel very lonely and such. And that's one thing to point out. And another thing is that I've noticed that my sisters, they accomplished and done less compared to me, and they also, respectfully, they have worse personalities. Yet, because in high school, because back in high school, even though because what they weren't men, they still got into relationships, and I think they also after high school they did. So definitely one of them has a boyfriend after high school, but yeah, they're both my older sisters. So, and I've met some trashy people who have relationship experience, or they they are in relationships. I almost got into a fight with another dude who had a girlfriend and who was making my assistant store director feel unsafe. And I've come to terms with with all the disrespectful women that I've ran into. so far in my life, how easy it's been for my sisters to get into relationships because of what? How easy it is for women in the dating market? Because men's requirements are much simpler and such. Whereas women interpret risk and reward differently compared to guys because the possibilities on, say, oh, what if he's super nice? Oh, wait, what if he's also a murderer, a future murderer, or whatever? And the aforementioned, I mean, as I said, problem misandrist. She had relationship experience, but she was just a shitty person. She she and her aforementioned quirks and flaws. I've come to terms that even though it sucks to be lonely, I'm going to be lonely for a while or maybe soon. And that's okay because most women aren't worth it anyways. Respectfully, there will be about half again who won't vibe with me and I won't vibe with them. And the other half, they're not going to want me because I'm not her tall, rich Korean boyfriend. And that's okay. That's her loss. I try to be a good person. I work hard. I take care of my mental health and my physical as well. I am well knowledgeable when it comes to many things. I can hold down a job. I can be great with money. I can invest. I can do this and that, tit for tat. I'm a computer and gun guy. Hopefully, a car guy soon. But they don't want me. Most women don't want me. Usually for irrational reasons. Because I'm not tall. I'm not rich. I'm not this and that. I'm not her dream guy. I'm not Hal's Moving Castle. Whatever. Ghibli stuff they watch. I'm just not that guy, and it's their loss if they don't want to stick to reality. It's their loss if they want to, I don't know, not want me because they focus too much on the could've than what really is kind of world we are at. So I even practiced, well, approaching other women online, and even though my head is much clearer now that I've gotten into supplements, meal prepping, pretty much just taking much better care of my mental health compared to 12 months ago when I used to eat Maruchan almost every day. Women sometimes are going to be rude, they're going to be ugly to you, and that's on them. That's on their shortcoming. And that's that's super relieving to hear because for a long time I thought I was always the problem, but it turns out it's not black and white. There's it's more complex than that. And there's p- terrible or flawed people, more flawed than me. They they somehow get into relationships because they found their match. They found somebody who they can be with, and they're look, women, they're not a test. They're not a test on, as to say how good your character is, how say, gee, I don't know, how good of a person you are, because there's bad women too. It's not just bad men. There's bad women too who accept bad guys because, oh my god, I think I can change him. I know that he's an awful person, but he would never do that to me. Oh wait, why are you raising your fist? I thought you were gonna be my TikTok my biking girlfriend. Oh my boyfriend. Oh my god. I'm not saying all women would act that way, but there's plenty of broken women who all their lives they know chaos and toxic environments, and instead of changing their ways, they're going to say go to somebody who they are very familiar with. Not as in say, oh, they've known them for a long time, but as in, gosh, they're used to that sort of demeanor on the dangerous sort of behavior he is exhibiting, the potential killer type of feeling you get from somebody. And that's the type of thing that I made the mistake of. The proud misandrist who I was deeply invested in, who I'm again embarrassed to cry about 12 months ago, I I thought I could fix her. I I thought that cuz she hated, and she probably still does, hates men, and that she let me in her life and we had great conversations on Insta or in person, that I could just be there for her, that I could just show her the good side of men. But in reality, you can't fix somebody who doesn't want to be fixed. They're either gonna learn it the easy way, uh, of this reminiscing on their memories and realizing she needs to say sorry to the people she wronged and make amends, or she's gonna learn it the hard way. Maybe perhaps say she gets publicly shamed for by other women for being such an odd person towards men irrationally. And honestly, she's gonna learn it. She's gonna learn one way or the other. Either she gets saved from a burning house or apartment from a bunch of guys who are firefighters the hard way, or the easy way, where say she matures up and realizes that, oh my god, all the good men in my life I've ignored by hyperfixing on my radical feminist ideology and being too chronically online. Misogyny's bad, misandry's bad. They're both bad. I don't care which of the two started. They both suck. Two wrongs don't make a right. Hell no. I'm a little bit hungry, so let me just have some of this. Mm. So, it's really hard for a man to get into a relationship, but it's much easier for a woman to find a relationship because society tends to be kinder. At least in America, society tends to be kinder to women. And I've come to realize that us guys are more logical, and again, not again, women are just more emotional, and that's okay. I mean, some guys they're just not emotionally available. Some women they're too harsh to the wrong person because they got pent up anger or they have unresolved problems. And I've gotten rejected by all sorts of women who they were just rude for no reason. And back then, I would think that it was a reflection of me, but in reality, they were showing me how flawed they were. They were basically projecting their flaws onto me. And this includes what, instead of educating me, which one of my friends did, this person who was born a female, I didn't know enough about LGBT plus terms, and it could have been an opportunity for them to educate me, but they chose not to, and they went with being rude and pushing me away emotionally. And this other gal, she kept lying. Oh my god, I'm busy. I'm busy. But she was with a tall dude. Instead of just saying, "Hi, I really appreciate you trying to get to know me, but because you're interested in me romantically, you're interested in being in a relationship with me, and I'm not really feeling that way, I think we should part ways." And then I would understand. But I also understand, say, this irrational fear of, not irrational fear. I'm not saying I would do that. I just know that if I was a woman browsing on TikTok all day, and I would be always inundated with, is that even the right word? With stories about, oh, this guy got rejected by a girl and she was a victim of assault or murder. I get it that women don't want to be a victim of that, so either they lie about having a boyfriend or they push you away, non physically. They shadow block you. I think that is when they block you to force you to unfollow her, and then they unblock you so that her profile is available, but you're not following her anymore. So, do I give serial killer tendencies? I hope not. But I think the mindset from women who are just hyper paranoid, they just they probably they think, "Oh, I don't know. You never know. You never know." I mean, to be fair, yeah, you do never know. But for big claims, you need a big amount of evidence. Because I've been friendly. I've been trying to be nice with these gals who rejected me, but I don't know. I just kept being told, "Oh my god, I'm busy. Oh my god, I have a boyfriend." Instead of just the direct and kind, "Hi, I appreciate your effort and all of that, but I don't see us getting anywhere." Very rarely would a woman tell me in a kind manner that they are just not interested in me. Only one gal told me that. She said something along the lines of, "Hey, I know you're really invested and you're really trying, but I don't think we should talk anymore." She said something along the lines of that. But and then it's usually just women who just nowadays they lie about having a boyfriend in order to push me away. I'm starting to think a lot of women are lying about having a boyfriend because I'm short. I don't make a lot of money. I want to make a livable wage for a family of 3 or 4, and I'm not their dream guy. I'm starting to think that a lot of them are lying, and usually when I get told off that, hey, I'm not interested in you by a woman, they do it in a vicious way. They don't do it in a polite way. They do it in a passive aggressive way or in an aggressive fashion. Super rarely does a woman tell me that they're just not interested in me respectfully, directly, before the end of a communication with them. It's just not right. It's usually either just me getting blocked or shadow blocked, ghosted, and also rudely told off and pushed away just because the feeling ain't mutual. it's usually that, all that, and it's just not right. It's just not right. I know not all women are all this, but I wish there was more women who were just more kind to the right people because I wouldn't assault a gal just because she's not interested in me. It's just not worth it, and I don't want to go to jail. The hell. Uh, uh. I mean, to be fair, I do live in LA, so it's one of the worst places to date, according to an article I saw. It's one of the worst places. So there's probably just a lot of broken people here. Is what I'm thinking. Anyways, yeah, part of the reason why I think God, it's been an hour. Part of the reason why I think men and women live in two different realities is because I always get told by women who are attractive and who are always having good luck in the dating market. They're always telling me, "Oh my god, I'm pretty sure that you will find somebody someday." Or, "Keep your head up." What's another one? Hmm. Oh my god, you just gotta be confident. You gotta approach, you gotta talk to girls. You gotta. What's another BS one that I would hear? Mm. Oh, I'm sure anybody would be lucky to have you. Oh, I'm sure you'll find somebody. There's always somebody for everyone. You'll meet someone someday. It's always that. But respectfully, they're they're talking they're speaking for themselves. Because again, women they have much better luck in the dating market than we do, and it's not fair. It really ain't. And there is this trend that I've noticed of gals around my age group. I would say over 20 or older, where they're just more wary of men, and kind of understandably so, because we do have a mental health problem in this country, and also there's an increase in just and normalization of both misandry and which is the hatred of men, and also the increased standards by women normalized by social media. You know what I think is the problem? Social media. I think social media is one of the biggest problems because it divides men and women. It always shows the worst of the worst. And when women see sexist, horrible things said or done by guys, when they see that, some of the women, they're gonna see and think, what is wrong with men? They're not gonna understand, say, the dangers of cherry picking certain types of men to generalize the rest of the population. They're not gonna understand that. Some of these gals, they're gonna think, wow, I hate men now because some dudes on the internet they're letting out their darkest thoughts, and that just happens to get the most amount of attention and the most amount of likes, this and that, from men within that age group, not age group, interest group and whatnot. So yeah, that's what pisses me off is that some gals they tell me that I will find someone, but I've been trying so hard. This is the this is one I've been this month or last month, these past few months. I've been the best version of myself that I've ever been. I've been approaching women more lately because of my increased confidence, and also shout out to my L-theanine supplement because I now feel more confident and happy and less anxious about myself. And even though I'm approaching, I'm always getting rejected. And again, as I said, I don't think these ladies are being truthful about having a boyfriend. I think there's a weird amount of there's an odd amount of women who have boyfriends. They suddenly have boyfriends. I'm beginning to think a lot of them are lying just to keep the peace because they know that there's guys who are respectful and or scared of pissing off a boyfriend, so they lie about having one. Yeah, it's a whole mess. The dating market sucks. I may have to move out of LA to have even a slight chance. Maybe I do notice that there's an increase in see when it comes to the political divide in this country, the left, let's not ignore it. The right has their crazies, but it tends to be the left that have the most amount of crazies, okay? You see the neo-Nazis or the federal agents posing as them. You see how they're all calm, uniform and all that. How they're not vandalizing buildings. I mean, aside from January 6th, it was either just neo-Nazis. What even is a neo-Nazi? I always hear neo. I shouldn't say that word because I don't know what it is. I think. Oh yeah, neo, as in say new. Let's just call them Nazis. Nazis or say far right extremists vandalizing January 6th. That was the exception. Usually, when you see some right wing dudes who are far right who are protesting or rioting, you don't see them talking about, oh, death to America, or say, oh, they hardly attack other people or say, gee, I don't know, break property. Whereas I'm usually seeing the radical left. Nazis are bad. That's all I gotta point that out because some of you guys are gonna think I'm a Nazi or a Nazi sympathizer, which I'm not. What I'm trying to say is, usually in the left, there's crazies who they just they hate white people. They think that because I'm not white that I don't know any better and I'm underprivileged no matter what, even though as somebody who's Hispanic, I have the same amount of rights and ability as a white person or any other race. And they are usually antagonizing other people. And that's the problem with lefties that are radical is that when they go out and riot, they attack the common people. They block roads. They they want to hurt or even kill people. It's usually the left that have the most mentally deranged, illogical, irrational people who you do not want to associate with. And I've seen it these past few years from the 2020 George Floyd protests and riots to very recently, even as recent as in 2025 when there were riots in downtown LA and local businesses had to board themselves up because they're scared. And why am I bringing all this up? Well, I saw a graph online about how guys are in the US, they're kind of they're slightly being more right-leaning, but the women they're going more to the left compared to say guys. So and usually women go to college while men there's less men going to college and instead opting in for the workforce, the trades, entrepreneurship, Maybe some of the guys go to the military, which is very commendable. I have high amounts of respect for people who go to the military because I could never. And yeah, and usually when I was in a college, when I would be in a college campus, it's the women who are radically left. And again, it's usually women who go to college. So and I got yelled at by another woman. No, not by another, but by somebody. I don't know if it was a dual enrollment kid from high school or whatnot, but she was being racist towards white people, and I suggested using different speech. And when I was just being kind, I got yelled at. She yelled at me. I mean, I didn't know how to respond because she's a whack job, far left whack job. So there's that. And I think a few days ago or next week, the professor got her back for me. So, and when that same left wing nut was, say, talking in the middle of the professor's lecture, the, instead of, say, the English professor telling her to quiet down from her seat, the English professor, when she witnessed me getting yelled at by this far lefty, she probably did this for me, but she walked up to the seat of the girl who yelled at me in class over a small disagreement. In the middle of lecture, the professor walked up to her and got in her face, going, or some similar facial feature. So, so why am I talking about this when we're on the topic of dating? Well, the way I see it, because more and more women are heading towards the far left, being more radicalized from, say, the college world compared to, say, the real world, because the college world and the real world, they're two different things, okay? And the way I see it, women, I mean, guys are getting crazier, but because of, say, how I would notice that how far lefties would have suicidal empathy, who don't really care about, say, secure and closed borders, and who just wanna be humanitarians and whatnot. From my understanding, I respect women, okay? Seemingly, what might be going on is that slowly and slowly, because of all the variables I said about how, oh, women and men live in two different worlds, women are more protected, women tend to be in an informational bubble because no one gives a shit about men, and that because a lot of men, because out of tradition, they approach women, and that kind of gives you a skewed sort of value understanding on yourself if you're a woman who always got approached. You don't really know exactly the truth and whatnot on, say, oh, if how good is my value, how good is this, how good is that, how good am I doing in life, because everybody's hyping you up and all that, and because you're more protected than men, and and everything else, that I think at a faster rate, women are just getting crazier than guys here in this country. That's what I've noticed. And maybe I have it wrong. Tell me in the comments, but there's that. And also, one thing I want to touch up is, what else? Gosh. I've learned that, as I said, it's tradition that men approach women, and a dating app is failing right now because it requires women to approach. But women don't want to do that. So now the responsibility is back on us. So, and that's okay. I don't mind approaching as long as, say, I'm not, look, dude, okay, when I approach, getting to the talking stage is near impossible. I'm not asking for, say, a woman to just make it so easy for me to get a date with them. All I'm asking is for things to be a little bit easier. To go from near impossible, where I have to be this tall, rich ex football player CEO who knows 5 languages, who can ride horses or motorcycles through fiery hoops, who's also, I don't know, super highly skilled and evil to other guys and all that. Not evil to the gal, super gentle to the gal. I'm not asking for things to be easier, much easier for me. All I'm asking is for things to be a little bit more reasonable for us guys, please. A little bit easier. Drop it from near impossible to just very hard difficulty. Please introduce me to your dad so that your dad makes me work and volunteer for him so that he gets a good understanding of my work ethic and what kind of person I am. Make it where, say, I have to go do chores or, say, tasks for you, but at least there's, say, in return, just a little bit of your time. Please. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for, say, I don't know, to get into a relationship automatically just because, oh, I'm a guy. I'm just asking for things to be just a little bit fair. That's not a lot to ask for. And all that. But yeah, oh yeah, as I was saying, just because it's out of tradition and guys tend to do this, approach women, and that women has it really easy in the dating market, whereas nobody cares about guys, okay? Nobody cares. Doesn't mean that that defines me, okay? Doesn't define me at all. And it doesn't really define my value because the way I see it, I'm a bronze I'm a bronze medal in the rough. I'm not silver, I'm not gold, I'm just bronze, okay? I'm not I'm not copper, I'm not sulfur, I'm bronze. I'm just a bronze in the rough who's getting rejected by low quality women who don't have the communication skills, who think that I'm going to kill her just because I'm a man, and she fixates too much on criminal shows and whatnot. It's such a mess here. And I've been better able to cope with loneliness because I have gigs that I make money from. I have video games. I have taken much better care of my health. I have done so much for myself, including buying this new gaming chair from my local Staples and decluttering my room. I made a lot of money from blood donating, and I'm super happy I did that because now I'm able to just afford the big things and all that. So yeah, I mean, I've seen it myself. I have a great personality, or at least I try to have a great one. I'm a decent person. I know a lot about, say, computers. I can hold down a job. I can be funny. I can be romantic. I can be thoughtful. I can be giving of nice gestures. I can be communicative. I can respect boundaries. But none of that matters because, again, I'm not a lot of these gals' dream guy. And I used to compare myself to say, oh, wow, look at all these gals who are in relationships. I want to be in a relationship. But then I realized very lately, wow, it's very easy for women to get into a relationship, even the low quality ones. So if Trash rejects Bronze, what does that say about Trash? That she doesn't recognize my value, and that she's also, gee, I don't know, hyperfixated on, say, the top percentage of men and whatnot. Of course, there's normal gals, but they're hard to come by because the normal ones are taken or they're facing a similar situation as I am. So, I. Okay, that's how I've been able to better cope with this horrible dating market and respect and just understand it, just accept it. I mean, it's hard. The dating market sucks because my sisters can get into relationships, but I can't. And I'm doing so many things right, but no one wants me. And that's a reflection on, say, the gals who don't want to give me a chance versus my character and shortcomings. Because if a misandrist just still hates men, even though what? I protected, I was there to protect my assistant store director against a shoplifter who was making her feel unsafe. The assistant store director was a female, and to just for a little bit walk a little girl, just walk a little bit with her because there was a she wanted to go to the 7-Eleven and there was somebody who was mentally deranged who was yelling and all that, and the last thing in my mind that I wanted to happen was, oh my god, what if she gets attacked? What if the kid feels unsafe and traumatized? I better walk with her. That happened, I think, when I was what, 20, 21? And I've come to realize that the next time I run into somebody who's a what the fudge, did I just get a notification from Teams? Let me just shut that down real quick. And I've come to realize that, okay, you hate men, but I protected women and a child back there, back then, back then, and you're hyperfixated on, say, the few who make the worst comments on social media. Okay, now I have enough self-respect to phase you out of my life. Thank you for filtering yourself out. I do not negotiate with terrorists. So yeah, that's my long rant. And yeah, just because women get approached a lot and that it's much easier for them to get into a relationship doesn't mean that most of them are really worth it. There's a about again half they don't vibe with you, and that's okay. The other half, or somewhat around that half, they don't want you because they're what, you're not tall, or say you're not rich, you're you don't make 7 figures. They don't want you because of that. That's on them. That's on them. And if they want to go for, see, tall, successful top percenters of men, they know that a lot of women, they don't want to, they know that there's a good portion of gals who do not want to stay in their lane, who just want to, gosh, who just want to go for these top percenters. So these men, these top few of men, some of them, some of the top percenters of men, they take advantage of that, and they take advantage of girls who, oh fudge, that sounds wrong. Let me roll that back. They take advantage of women who hyperfixate on the top percentage of men, and they basically just they manipulate and lie their way through just, oh, I love you. I'll be there for you. I'll provide for you. I'll get a car that's gonna fit a family of five. And then when they finally get in bed with him, oh yeah, I'm busy. Oh, I gotta focus on my dad's mutual fund. So if these women don't want me because what? I don't fit their perfect man criteria, and they they don't want to give me a chance, and they're running the risk of, say, getting hurt, which I don't want to happen. I'm just saying, if they want to run the risk of getting mistreated or abused by some top percenter who knows that they can take advantage of them, let them be, man. Let them be. Because I have enough confidence to say that the dating market doesn't define me. I will find someone, but I'm just sick and tired of women saying that, oh, I will find someone. Oh, I you'll find someone because there's always somebody for someone, and I'm sure that there's somebody out there, when in reality I've heard so many variations of that so many times, and I'm sick and tired of hearing it because it's just because I always hear it from all sorts of women, but I'm never told when or how to do it. I've only been told how to do that by this one gal who I met on my third year of community college. And she told me that I'm awkward and that I need to dress better. And dress better I did. And awkwardness, I bettered my diet. I eat and drink healthier things, and I also supplement, especially with vitamin C, zinc, iron, omega 3 fatty acids, and all sorts so that I can quell my autism and ADHD symptoms. And I feel much better now. I feel more confident in my ability to socialize and all that. And usually, I'm happy to say, for the most part, it's not my fault because the ball is usually on these gals' court, and they don't play ball. They don't want to play ball. That's fine. It's a two-way street. Women are independently minded, and that's okay. Women deserve to make choices. Women deserve to choose to choose who they want to be. But if they're going to be irrational, that's just disrespectful. They don't have to choose me. That's okay, but still, I'm not going to agree with it, but I understand. You want this dream guy, go for him. You want to risk being lonely, sad, and depressed when you're in your mid 30s and you've never had children? Fine. Play that risky game. I'll go find someone who will. Of course, it'll be harder. It'll be harder for me to find somebody because I'm a guy and you're a gal, and it'll always be easier for you. Just know that I'll get there because I'm highly adaptive and curious. Whereas it'll always be easier for women, and I'm just not I'm not as sad and needy as I used to be. As I said, it'll be harder. It's always going to be harder for me, and I've come to terms with that it's going to be that way for a very long time because I'm just not these gals' dream guy. I'm the, oh, flowers type of guy. I'm not, oh, I want him to marry me type of guy. Oh my god, he'd be an amazing dad type of guy. I just don't evoke that sort of feelings with women. And one of the new one of the new reasons I've discovered is because I'm too formal with my communication. I need to kind of dumb down my how I talk to women because they probably think I'm just too nerdy or I'm too formal when I just gotta chill out. I just gotta be more casual. I just gotta be more friendly, because when I'm a little bit too formal, it kind of just changes the room, and it it weirdens things out. It makes things kind of awkward. With women who I'm just interested in, I need to tone down that formality. I really do. So that we're both on the same frequency and such. Cause that's cause even the proud Miss Sanders told me that I came off as someone who was going to interview her. And I met this girl who's a graduate as I am, but she graduated from a university. I didn't want to risk student loans and whatnot financing my future for a bachelor's because it's too risky right now, especially in this job market. I'm gonna wait until what, somewhere around 2030 when a lot of the boomers not expire. Oh god, retire. Yeah, where more boomers fully retire and all that. Even this one girl who I was speaking to, who was a uni grad, she told me that I come off as a salesman. I don't know if that's a compliment or if say, excuse me, or if it's just a neutral thing to point out that she found funny. But yeah, life goes on. Things will be easy for me as a man, such as say, oh, I'm more logical. I listen with the left side of my brain rather than say women do with both sides of the brain, which complicates things less, seemingly. And I'm not so affected by social influence and pressure as women seemingly are. And I've come to terms that the dating market will always be difficult for me. It'll get better because when I'm approaching my 30s or when I'm past my 30s, there will be girls who will come out and say, "Oh, I always had a crush on you. I always knew you had potential. Even though the tall ex football player, he already found his girl and he didn't want me and he used me as a way to pump and dump me. Now I want you, my new sucker. I mean, lover." I don't want seconds. No. That's why guys tend to go for younger gals because what, you wouldn't want me. I mean, I'm sorry, younger gals who are within a reasonable, acceptable age range and are adults. There you go. That's why guys go for younger women because they know that the women in their age group, especially in this day and age, didn't want them when they were building themselves up because again, nobody cares about men. It's always about say what a man can do for me, not what I can do for a man. And what can he provide for me? And never about what can I provide for him. And that's what I've noticed is that I'm expected of so much. I'm expected of so much. Women are expected a lot, but guys are when it comes to say, oh, how to de-escalate a situation, how can he defend me, how can he be the breadwinner? Well, I'm earning a lot of money. It's not fair. And as I said, oh, what can so as I was talking about, as say, oh, how can say, and usually that's why guys go for younger women is because of all that, and that God, I lost my train of thought about how say that's why guys. Okay, I remember. That's why guys go for say younger women when they're older because they know that the women who are about their age when they were in their 20s wouldn't want them because they're always women. They always tend to go for the most successful men. That's what I've noticed is that they tend to go for say guys who are a few lanes higher than her instead of sticking to her own and being happy with a guy who's kind, who will give so much for her, this and that, and then when they're in their 30s and the guy she was going for didn't want her, the woman will go back to her backup. And what scares me was that not only was the problem Miss Andrews, who I was deeply into back in March of 2025, no, I mean from March 2025 to say June, not June, May, March to May, the problem Miss Andrews, who I was talking to, not only was she probably just using me as a way to say get over her breakup of 2 years. I think it was about 2 years. I don't know. Not only was she probably using me to get over her breakup just by having all these conversations with me, being platonic. I mean, normally when you're with a friend, you don't do weird stuff such as say randomly touching his arms. But also she needed a place to just treat a guy a little bit extra while also just getting over her breakup a little more, and that sort, and that did hurt looking back and all that. So there you go, guys. My long tangent about me better accepting the dating market, my backstory on how it all led to this, and all for that. And yeah, I mean, what a ride these past few days, past few years has been. I feel more positive, but it's still going to be really hard because the dating market is unforgiving to men, and the world will always be hard for men. It will. It is somewhat hard for women, the world to women, but because of, say, the aforementioned arguments and statements I've stated, it'll always be harder for men, no matter what. And I've accepted that because it's my role as a man to protect, provide, be there for somebody, be good with money, learn a skill, take advantage of my logical masculine origin, and be the father figure that my father failed to be. And he couldn't help me with, say, my development. And now the baton has passed. Ever since I turned 18, now it's my turn to take care of myself and be the good man that my family failed to raise, and my father didn't do a good job at raising. He took care of me, which I'm thankful for. But raising me? No. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this coffee and my brunch. I'm gonna keep up the good fight. It's unfair. The game of life is unfair in general, both dating market and life. But you just keep playing. You just keep playing. You keep going. What's the other option? Give up? Go crazy? Ruin my life more? You just gotta keep going. It can get better. It will get better. But you gotta keep going. Or else you'll lose yourself. Because life is beautiful. There's more to life than relationships. But honestly, there's just so much to life and relationships. I'm still hurt from many of the things that occurred to me, that happened to me in the past. But I'm not as needy, sad, and all that as I used to be. So, relationships come and go. I'm hurt and sad that I've never been in one, but at the same time, I've never had to deal with some deep drama, cheating, abuse, hard lessons, and whatnot. And I realized that there's a lot more value to me compared to how I would sell myself short most of the time last year. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, keep making more money, keep improving my room because holy moly, dude, I decluttered my room a lot. It used to be filled with video game and anime stuff and all sorts of nerdy things, but I threw away, donated, sold, and did a lot of things with my old stuff. Uh-huh. So that's it. End of rant. I'm gonna go do my thing. I'm gonna keep up the good fight. I'm gonna enjoy this new gaming chair. Declutter some more. I'll update you guys on how say I do plan on getting on ADHD meds, but I might update you guys on how that goes because my ADHD symptoms are getting worse. So yeah, see you guys. Stay classy.